Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is Tuesday the 13th of August and today again we'll start with Nikkei. There's no single stocks at the moment. I need a little bit of interesting moves in any stocks that could be of interest. So but I'll get back to it probably in a couple of days when we have some earnings coming out. Nikkei futures broke above the 61.8 retracement here early this morning in Asian session, trading a little bit higher again. And as we can see, there is a potential up to the 200 moving average and the 786 retracement at 37,326, which is also the low of what could have been the first leg down in this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves. If it does close above that level here, 37,330, well, then this pattern is demolished, and then we have a new situation we have to discuss. In US, it was fairly quiet. S&P 500 closed virtually unchanged, just below 5,375, which is a key resistance area. We have resistance in this area here, as we talked about the past few days, that should be observed. And Nasdaq 100 also tested its resistance, 18,655. But the key one is 18,768, because then we also closed this little gap area here. On the European markets front, we had started out the day on a positive note, or fairly positive note, trading a little bit higher on EUROSTOXX 50, just below 4,700. Excuse me. I think we could see a push up to around 4740 area. And then let's talk when or if we get to there, or if it starts sliding back lower. We are still seeing a negative sentiment with no divergence, indicating we could see lower lows, but it's not a given. 17,918 and 18,083. That's the gap area for DAX. That should be observed. I think we could test it and then slide back a little bit. AX also below 892 resistance, but the key one is up here, 901 and 907. The CAC index, well, 7,300 got rejected yesterday, so it really needs to close above that. It's been spiking just a little bit above the past few days, but it really needs to close above for further upside potential. Otherwise, it'll likely slide lower. The Swiss market. Still negative sentiment, no divergence, indicating we will see low lows. There was a little bit of resistance here at 11,875. It's not the strongest one. We will have a little bit of resistance in this area here also. And of course, the cloud resistance at the 55 moving average will also add some resistance. But I think we will slide lower if we start moving lower below 11,875, well then expect it to slide lower in the coming days and weeks. Moving on to FX and euro dollar, still fairly unchanged, just trading around the 109.25, around that level there. So without direction, I still believe we'll see it pushing higher, but there is risk down to the 61.8 at 61.8 retracement at 108.65. Could be caught range bounds, as we talked about for a few days now. Could be caught range bound in this area here, so a little bit boring to say the least. The euro sterling is currently testing the 38.2 retracement and support around 85.35, and that is, if it does break further below, it's just dipped a little bit below. There is risk down to around the 85 levels, where we have some strong support, and we could see a bounce from there. There is no divergence on the RSI, which is still showing positive sentiment. So we should see a higher push in the coming weeks, but we just need this correction to be over with. The question is, how large or how big will it be? Will it bounce from here? I actually think it will drop lower to around 85. I'm not quite sure it'll get all the way down to the 84.75. which is the 61.8 retracement. Not quite sure we'll get all the way down there. The cable, also 38.2 retracement of this sell-off here at 128 and a change. Peaked just a little bit above. We are above the cloud. I think we will push higher in the coming days and weeks towards 129 at least, despite having a little bit of negative sentiment here on the RSI, but I think it will break above the 60, and then we'll see a cable pushing higher, and that could also be involve some movement in the euro sterling lower right there. The dollar yen still struggling for upsides. It spiked a little bit higher yesterday, but we're still not even close to the 38.2 retracement, 149.42, and resistance level around here. I still believe we could see that being tested and then possibly be rejected. Euro yen, same picture. 38.2 retracement, 162.44. Strong resistance around there, and then I think it will be rejected. It will be interesting what RSI will do at 40 level. Also, yen actually for the second day in a row is above the 38.2 retracement, and got actually rejected at the 97.83 resistance. If it can break above that level, well, then there is potential up to around 99.90. Possibly spiking to 100. I'm not quite sure about that, but let's see here the next 24 hours. Will it actually break higher, or will it be rejected also on the RSI at 40? That is the key question. We have sterling yen, almost similar to euro yen and dollar yen, trying to push higher and could move up to the 38.2 retracement at 190.81. And then we have the 200 moving habits, kind of putting a lid on it. It didn't provide much support here. Maybe it won't provide much resistance either, but let's see. There is some interesting levels or key levels that should be observed in this area here. If it's being rejected, then expect sliding back lower. The same with the RSI if it's being rejected at 40. Aussie dollar, I think we will see the Aussie dollar reaching the 61.8 retracement at 66.25, and then we have the 55 moving average kind of helping it to keep it down a little bit, and also RSI likely to be rejected at 60, meaning we could see it be rejected there around that level, and then sliding lower and stay below the cloud area, which is then in a negative sentiment. On the dollar Canada front, well, dancing around the 61.8 retracement at 137.25, and I think it will start bouncing back higher here. And if it gets back above 137.85, well, then I expect a new push higher. If it takes out the lows from yesterday at 137.15, then we could see a test of the cloud, the 100 moving average, possibly all the way down to the 786 retracement at 136.65. Swiss franc, well, spiked a little bit above the 50%. There is still potential up to the 61.8% retracement at 95.58. Even though if we get up there, I'm almost certain that we will still have the RSI below 60, meaning still a negative sentiment and no divergence, indicating it could then start resuming downtrend. If it takes out the lows from yesterday at 94.20, I always add a little bit. It was actually 94.23, but 94.20. If we get below 94.20, then I expect the downtrend to resume. Dollar Swiss spiked above the 38.2 retracement, trying again today, resistance at 87.30, 87.42 in this region here. I don't think it will get much higher than that, but if it does close above, well, then there is potential up to the 61.8 retracement and resistance in this area around 88.15, 88.25. If it takes out the lows from yesterday, which is 86.25, well, then we will see dollar Swiss resuming downtrend. The dollar index, well, not much to say either. Almost similar to the inverse picture of euro dollar. If it starts moving below 102.70, then the downtrend has resumed. Gold spiked to not all-time highs, which is over here at 24.84, but to the previous peak here about a week ago at 24.78, just below that level. We can see it actually spiked just 24.77, to just a few cents below. We are in an uptrend, confirmed uptrend, with a higher close. It's actually the highest close yesterday, and I think we will see it trying to break higher above 2500, 25 and a quarter, maybe even around 25.50. Still staying above the rising trend line, and 23.64 is required. The silver spot is testing the upper falling trend line after forming this bullish engulfing. And please do check out my update on gold, silver and copper yesterday in writing. There was an article out yesterday afternoon where I actually go a little bit more into deep about this. But anyway, we need to close above here, then there's potential up to 29.45. But to go full-blown bullish, we need to get back about $30. On the copper contract that has formed this, first of all, it traded in this falling channel, and now then it has formed this falling wedge-like pattern, going into falling wedge-like pattern that it broke bullish out of yesterday. There was the divergence on the RSI indicating downtrend exhaustion. There should be potential short-term up to around 422, which is around the 38.2 retracement at this resistance here, and the upper falling trend line in this channel-like pattern. If it does close above both, well, then we are looking at levels around 440 that we could move up to. If it takes out the lows here from last week at 392, well, then expect further selling pressure to resume to 383, 380 level. On the on the energy side, we have WTI. WTI that on the weekly is forming this big triangle-like pattern. So expect more and more narrow trading, and volatility will probably decline. And if we can see here on the daily, it actually did bounce strongly from the 72.40 support up to around $80, and then I think we will start sliding back lower again here. More or less the same picture on Brent crude, obviously just around 82 level, and also here we have a potential symmetrical triangle pattern. There's still room up to the upper falling trend line, but I think we could be caught range bound or be caught sideways trading in a fairly large range, but it is getting more and more narrow, and we really need to break these trend lines, the upper falling or the lower rising, for a clear direction. Also, just let me highlight Dutch gas that spiked higher yesterday, but then collapsed. But we are here, as we can see here on the weekly, we are in an uptrend. 54.45 resistance is their potential up to. Finally, on the US 10-year Treasury yields, well, set it back a little bit yesterday or the past 2 days after spiking just above 4%. And seems to be sliding a little bit lower. If it takes out the peak there at 4.015, well, then we could look at 4.15, potential for 10 level, but I'm not quite sure we'll get there. Seems like we are beginning to slide lower again on the US 10-year yields. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and have a trading.